Okay, I want to make a little bit of a lengthier video here that basically is going to talk about the research papers and how to go about that process. Now, it is important because obviously the research papers are a significant portion of your grade. In this case, worth more than the exam. Total, it's worth 30%. So let's talk about what you do from this moment forward for the research assignment. So basically at this point, if you haven't done anything on it yet, you basically have a topic that I've given you. Okay? If you can't find that email, or if somehow you did not get such an research topic from me, let me know. But let's say again you're staring at this research assignment that you've been given. So this would then appear, the first thing you'd be doing is a research assignment number 1. I've given you the topic. Okay? So in this case here, you're basically going to do just a very minor bit of research on it so that you can actually complete this first assignment. So let's talk about it. This is a very small part of your grade, but it's basically 2 pages or so, and you're basically repeating exactly the research question that I gave you, and you're adding a little bit more on it. You will have read a few articles about it. So the question would be is, I've given you a topic. How do you write? I mean, this part, I'm gonna presume, right, that you're gonna write it, and I'm gonna critique your writing. That's the whole point of this being a WI course. I'm not expecting perfection the first time around on these writing assignments. It's my job to correct your writing and help teach you better writing skills. What I want to focus on in this video is the research process, because this isn't a research intensive class. And while research is a natural skill to me, I recognize it might not be as natural to you. Okay, so I want to talk about the research aspect from an official perspective versus a unofficial perspective. So let's start first with the official perspective, because the official perspective is rather short. I don't know how useful it is. I have a very limited view of the greatness of our own library, but that's me. I'm a little bit of an elitist when it comes to research. Okay, so I just went to the West Oahu library site, and this is what you'd see here. This will get you. This will get when I look depressed. Don't worry about that. I mean, when I do research, it's obviously on a different level than when you're doing research. So just accept that, embrace it, move on. Okay, so for us, you could see that business and economics, these would be the primary subject guides that you'd be perhaps looking at. And what these subject guides do in a pretty nice fashion is give you some key terms that you could be looking up. But what they also do is they give you sources for where you could be looking for things in economics. And these are databases that the library subscribes to, so that would mean you'd either need to be on campus or you need to be logging in. It will tell you to log in before you could search things. And so these would be useful because you could start to search for some key terms for your article. If you need a list of key terms, if key terms are not coming to your mind, the search terms that you would use, email me. I'll give you some search terms pretty quickly. Right, but that's... So again, what I did there, just so you can see what I did specifically, is I went on West Oahu's site and I went to their library, and then I went to the subject guides, and I just went directly to economics. Although for many of our assignments for managerial economics, they also applied to business. And these databases are going to be useful because there are things that the library subscribes to, and it's premium sources of information. Okay. That's the official stance. You could use just a single database, and you could probably, right, if I went to, let's just go to business here. Databases. I'm going to go to Business Source Complete here. I'm already logged in, so that's why it gave me that, and it just showed up right away. Let's say I had a research assignment on air travel to Asia. I'm just making it up. But here, see? I've got a list of articles. I'm going to have full access to them. This is what you would start to use. And look at that. It's also organizing things rather well for you in terms of the references. For this first research assignment, you're just doing, right, you're just looking for a few articles just to get a better idea, and you're talking about it very briefly. Now, let's talk about the unofficial way to do research. For me, I like scholar.google.com. Because in scholar.google.com, what it's doing is basically a Google search of what academics, what scholars are saying to each other. And that might be useful to you, right? So if I then want something on air travel to Asia, I'm also getting articles that I could access, and right, it looks like a Google search, so I'm getting things that might be useful to me. Again, I just went to scholar.google.com. Or, alternatively, I could go to news.google.com. And in news.google.com, I could do the same kind of thing. And I would get news articles that are not just limited to a single newspaper or anything like that, that might be useful to me depending on the article, depending on the research topic that I have. Now, with this as well, what you could do for some of your papers as well is that what you could do is you could, for instance, look on the Wall Street Journal, which is where I got the inspiration for many of your research papers. You could do a search on the Wall Street Journal, and even though this is a paid subscription service, the library does have access to it as well. So then you would just basically take note of where the article is, like what date it was at, and then you would go back and find that specific article in the library's database. The most important thing I can suggest to you as the best piece of advice I can give you is start this earlier rather than later, because it's much early. The earlier you start it, the easier it's going to be to get the articles. Whereas if you're in a time crunch, sometimes it can be a little harder. If you're having trouble getting something specifically, you know exactly the source you want and you can't get it, send me a quick email. Let me know. And I'll try to fix it for you, try to find it for you. Okay. Aw, panda bears. Oh, they're getting busy. Looks like giant panda breeding. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, it looks pretty comfortable though. Bamboo. Oh, great stuff. Okay. Let's go back to research assignment number 1. So basically then what you're doing is you're typing this up. I'm giving you comments and we're going back and forth. And these research assignments then build on each other. So then let's go to research assignment number 2. This is due rather shortly afterwards. And basically here what you're doing is you're just basically listing your sources in proper APA fashion. If you want to use a different referencing style, that's absolutely fine. APA is the one that they kind of push on people, but listen, I'm not the police of referencing styles. I just want to see that you're doing it properly in some way. Now, here are sites that you can use to do it, but there's also websites. In case you don't know this already, there are websites out there that will do all the hard work for you in terms of how to get the articles. the best thing I can suggest to you is that if you're getting things from databases, it's probably going to be putting it in the right style for you anyway, so just copy and paste that. But basically in research paper 2, what you're doing here is you are basically listing your sources. And I don't think it's going to require 2 pages to do. I just kind of put that there, but I don't think it's going to require 2 pages. But you're basically listing your sources and doing that properly. Research assignment number 2 should be relatively easy. Then we've got research assignment number 3. Now, research assignment number 3 is probably the most difficult one, because in research assignment number 3, what you're doing is you're summarizing all the articles that you found. And that's going to be about 3 pages in length, but it may be more. And you're basically organizing the literature. You're talking about what each thing you found, what is its argument, what is its finding, how is that supporting or going against what you thought was going to be the case, right? It's talking about what have all the others who have looked at this, what have they said, basically. And then with 1, 2, and 3 in all my comments, you're then adding a bit of your own thoughts and you're turning it into the final paper, which I'm going to then be posting a Google form here that will be talking about how to post your final paper, which will be due at the end. The most important thing I can tell you for these writing assignments is that I'm going to take the time to make comments to you. Do yourself a huge favor and read the comments that I make and react to them. Make the changes that I suggest. Because I'm going to basically I'm going to have a file folder for each of you. And I'm going to be looking at the comments I made. And if you are not making the changes that I suggest, or at least even, I'm not saying you have to make the changes I suggest, but you have to be recognizing the suggestions I'm making. You can disagree with me. You are absolutely free to disagree with me and say, no, Scheiding, I don't want to talk about that, or I really want to talk about this. That's absolutely fine. But you need to be telling me why you're doing things. Otherwise, I'm just going to think you're ignoring me. Which, dude, I'm totally fine with you ignoring me. It's just that your grade might reflect the fact that you've ignored me. My feelings have been hurt. Not really, but that's what we're looking for here. Is with this research assignment, it should be a conversation. You giving me something, me writing all over it, telling you how to do it better, and then you doing it better. Okay.